Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Joey with Last Few Spins, and I'm excited to be talking about the Glastonbury Music Festival lineup that just dropped today. It's full of a lot of great artists, a lot of great bands, and in this video, I'm going to kind of preview and kind of go through each day of the lineup and kind of like give you my thoughts on what I think might be the best day or might be some acts that you need to go check out if you're able to attend. Glastonbury takes place in late June. From what I understand, there's several different stages. I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube of different performances, and I know there's always some kind of controversy about like certain bands being pitted against each other, like you have to pick one or the other. I know last year, I think Idols and Fontaines DC was like at the same time, and that was like a whole big thing. So like in this lineup that they revealed, it doesn't really like line out who's going to be against each other yet, but I guess we can kind of speculate a little bit. But the main thing is just to be talking about the artists and seeing what to look out for. So it should be noted that kind of at the top of each day, it shows the headliner, then some of the other like co-headlining acts. Maybe they could be the ones that play at the end of the night on the other stage, but after that, what you see kind of in like the more orange lettering, it's just alphabetical. So we'll see like some really big acts kind of towards the end of the list, and you're like, what? Why would they be like that far down? But I don't think it's any like indication of where they would be during the day. So right off the bat, the headliner for Friday is the 1975. And if you've been following this channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of the 1975, as I did a video a month or two ago kind of asking like what's next for them, because they kind of announced like a little bit of a hiatus, and us fans weren't sure like what would come from that. Obviously it's not over, it's not going to last for too long, because here they are headlining arguably one of the biggest music festivals in the world. Of course that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a tour or anything like that, but hopefully it's an indication that there's a new album on the horizon. So I would definitely be excited about the 1975 if I were attending Glastonbury this year. To go through some of the others, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who Loyal Carner and Biffy Clyro is. Maybe, that's probably some names that I need to check out if they're that high up on the list for this festival. Alanis Morissette, I've actually seen her live last summer. She puts on a really good show. During her set that is like her own show, though, there was kind of like a lull in the middle where she played some of her kind of slower songs from maybe some later albums. Maybe in this setting, like at a festival, it's probably better because she's not gonna like bore you with some of those. I know we were kind of getting like tired of, or at least I was getting tired of some of those songs in between, like the ones that you're really there to see. In the setting, though, she would probably just stick to the good stuff, I'm sure. Busta Rhymes, that's definitely a interesting contrast between who we just talked about. Marabou State, they have a new album that was pretty good this year that just came out like a month or so ago. I enjoyed that one. Not sure how they are live, but sure that would be an interesting act to catch. Gracie Abrams, aka Taylor Swift Part 2. She's got like some talent and everything, but obviously her songwriting and kind of her creativity, originality, it's maybe not much to be desired because it's been done 100 different times. She's probably deserving of that spot in terms of like her fame. She's definitely picking up steam, but that's probably all right. Skip over to Wet Leg. Really hoping that we see some new music out of them. Their debut self-titled album I loved. It was one of my favorite albums of that year. I think that was 2022 if I'm not mistaken. It seems like it's been an eternity since that album came out. So many live performances, and I think they played a lot of festivals in between now and then. So hopefully there are some new songs to hear at that point. And now we're gonna get into this part of Friday. Sorry, I guess I just realized the next day you could already see, but whether that matters or not. Getting to the next day where it's just alphabetical order. I'm just going to talk about the ones that I'm familiar with. So we're going to go down here to English Teacher. They had an album last year that I'm pretty sure was up for several awards, like at the Brits, if I'm not mistaken. I enjoyed quite a bit of that. Faye Webster, I'm actually seeing her in 2 days in Indianapolis. So And I'm not even like a huge Faye Webster fan. I'm just I'm obviously going to a lot of shows this year. If you might have caught on a previous video, I went and saw Father John Misty, which was my first concert of the year. But I'm aiming to hit 25 concerts in 2025. So Faye Webster is going to be the next one. Kind of a silky, smooth, sometimes jazzy musician, but kind of with a modern like social media type twist, I guess. I don't know. Franz Ferdinand. This is a great band live. They bring a lot of energy. They're really tight together. I think they've benefited from adding their new drummer a couple years ago, which her name's like Audrey Tate, I think. But their first album that came out with her behind the drum kit just came out like a month or two ago. It wasn't like the greatest. It seemed like they were just doing an imitation of themselves, but the strength of it was the drumming, I feel like. And so at Glastonbury, I'm sure they're going to put on a great set and of course mix in, some of the more fan favorites, even if this newest album really didn't have much for me. Inhaler, a band I'm really fond of. Sort of an anthemic, like Irish rock band. Of course, the lead singer is the son of Bono. I think you have to mention that. They deserve a good spot on this bill because when I saw them at Bourbon and Beyond Festival a couple years ago, they were like at 2 p.m. And it's funny how like nobody knows who they are here in America, but I'm a big fan of them. They have a lot of good songwriting chops. Lola Young, nice. If you haven't heard her song Messy, you need to look that up. It's an absolute banger. One of my favorite songs from last year. It'll be stuck in your head for a while, but Lola Young, that's going to be a good one. Some of these others, Supergrass, I'm only partly familiar with. So there's a good bit on here that I'm familiar with, but I'm not going to talk about the ones that I don't know anything about. They could be great. Leave your thoughts in the comments if some of these are some of your favorites, and there's like some songs in particular that I need to check out. But now we move on to Saturday of Glastonbury. And as you'll see pretty soon, there's definitely some different musical ideologies going on right off the bat. Neil Young and the Chrome Hearts is your headliner for this day. I know, recently it seems like he's had to cancel a lot with his prior band, Crazy Horse. I think it might be something to do with that band, some of those members having some ailments that he had to opt out of some spots. But here he is right here with a different band. Neil Young, of course, a legend. He has, 40 or 50 albums probably. So many great songs. So this is kind of like the previous night, the 1975 is your headliner, and they're this like new, fresh, globally, band that kind of strikes that modern chord. Then you have Neil Young for kind of like the old school fans. So I think that's really cool to kind of mix it up like that. Charlie XCX. This is another artist that perhaps could have had that number one spot. Her album last year, Brat, was a smash hit. I know it won like so many awards and was really highly regarded. I thought it was okay. I gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars. A lot of catchy, kind of dancier tracks. I don't know if I get like this perfect album from it, but I'm sure her live show is probably has a lot of electricity, a lot of life. Deftones is somebody I need to get around to. I certainly hear a lot about them. John Fogerty, that'd be kind of cool to see. It seems like a lot of these festivals have, not only like Neil Young, but there's some other old school artists that they like to mix and match in, and kind of just give the fans kind of a look at some music of the past. Of course, his work with CCR was legendary. I didn't realize how much I liked Creedence Clearwater Revival until I went through all their albums. What became just a band that I knew like 10 or 15, great hits. It was like wow, all these albums are like great all the way through too. So one of my favorite bands of that era, of course, John Fogerty. I don't know if he has to stick to kind of his solo stuff or if he can do some of the CCR things. I know there's all kinds of legal troubles between him and what he owns and what he has the rights to and stuff, but that'll be interesting. And then somebody that's like the complete opposite of John Fogerty, Amyl and the Sniffers, one of the most energetic live bands right now, just a punk rock phenomenon, just a Goliath, if you want to call it that. The lead singer, Amy, she has so much energy. She's absolutely wild. And it's one of the loudest concert I've ever been to was Amyl and the Sniffers. So whenever you go to see them with those big festival speakers, I'm sure that's probably going to blow out everybody's eardrums within like a mile of the venue. Amaray, she had, I didn't listen to it, but I know her album, like in the last year or two, had a lot of acclaim in some of the year-end lists. Biba Doobie is the next on our list. I really like her. She's kind of got that like silky smooth delivery also, kind of dips in and out of like pop or jazz, kind of has that same sound as like Clairo at times. The last year's album was like maybe a little bit more sleepier than I preferred because Beatopia, the other album before that, some of my favorite songs were like the ones that were a little more upbeat. I just don't know if I got that out of the last album. She's a really interesting new songwriter though, one to follow, and if you can check out her set at Glastonbury, definitely do that. Brandy Carlisle, another one that is usually really popular at these type of festivals. I've seen her headline festivals within the last couple of years. So to see her down in this group here just shows you how much star power is at these festivals, like especially Glastonbury, and I know Reading is kind of the same way, I think. But at Glastonbury, she finds herself kind of down in this group. Next, Father John Misty, as I just mentioned, I just seen him recently. His new album, Mahash Mashana, or whatever, however you call it. Yeah, I probably butchered that, but that's a great album, and all those songs kind of come to life when they're performed live. Being You is probably my favorite from that album, so hopefully he plays it at his Glastonbury set. Japanese Breakfast, I'm really excited to see what she comes out with this year. Her album from 2017, I believe it was, Soft Sounds from Another Planet, that had so many bangers on it. Diving Woman, Body is a Blade. She has such an interesting story, kind of her background. If I just read her book like a year ago called Crying in H Mart. It's really not that much about music, but if you're a fan of her, or even if you haven't heard of her, it's such a good human interest story. And I'm kind of getting off track about like her book, but if you want kind of some more context before you look into Japanese Breakfast, you can read that book, Crying in H Mart. Lucy Dacus, I think Boy Genius was like extremely overrated. The album that, won the hearts of so many people, I just like completely didn't get, but I do like Phoebe Bridgers. Just the other two members aren't really anything special. The Script, haven't heard of them in a while. What is this, like 2011? Of course they seem like they were on the radio all over the place, 15, 16 years ago. Not sure what they've been doing lately, but I would imagine they would be like early in the afternoon. And Weezer, this is another example of why you got to pay attention that these are just alphabetical order. Obviously they would probably be up here if it came down to like their notoriety or something like that. Just another band with a lot of history, it seems like, throughout the 90s. Once again, if you're wondering why is he like skipping over all these other artists, once again, if I don't know who they are, I'm just gonna kind of like move on. But the beautiful thing about Glastonbury is how well they put their stuff on YouTube afterwards. I've like lived vicariously through the fans there so many times, watching clips of different artists there, and they seem to be like they post one song from every artist. So You know, it's like without fail, I'm sure once this rolls around, they start posting some of these people, some of their songs, I'll watch them and I might, you know, fall in love with them and want to look more into them. There's just so many artists out here, so many bands. You can consume it as fast as possible, and there's always going to be some you don't know. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm skipping over some of these, I'm just simply not familiar with them and don't really have anything to say. So now we're about to get to the last day of the festival. I think obviously, you know, we've listed off a lot of great artists. I think both days are really strong, but we'll see how Sunday lines up with that. Olivia Rodrigo is your headliner. She seems to be making the festival rounds this year. I've seen her at some other festivals, like over here in America, that she's the headliner. So it's really no surprise. She's quite the pop superstar at the moment. And then you have Rod Stewart. I mean, nothing wrong with that, I guess. Another one of those legacy acts, but maybe not someone I'd be as excited about as, say, Neil Young. Noah Kahan, I don't get this guy really. He doesn't do anything extra special that like other singer-songwriters don't already do. So, but he's definitely won the hearts of a lot of people. So if you're a Noah Kahan fan, that's awesome for you. But the one when I looked at this poster earlier today, the one I was really excited to see is Wolf Alice. So I always say like Pearl Jam is my favorite band, but in terms of like today, Wolf Alice is probably like right there. They're like a great album or two away from being my favorite band of all time. So I have nothing but great things to say about them. Their last album, Blue Weekend, was in 2021. They toured that for a couple years, like really relentlessly, it seemed like. But then, you know, haven't really heard much about them. So have kind of, you know, been hopeful, had my fingers crossed that they were in the studio. And, you know, to see them on this Glastonbury lineup is really excited in terms of the fact that, you know, they probably have something in the works. Maybe, you know, this summer or this spring, maybe we'll see some new material from them. And that'll be highly anticipated for me if that gets announced. So if you're not familiar with Wolf Alice, definitely look them up. But I guess if you're watching a video about Glastonbury, you probably know who they are. So the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artists in this list. I don't have anything for you. I'm sorry. I'm sure some of these are really cool. I've heard of the Libertines, but a lot of these are over my head. Whoa, music YouTube channel. The dude doesn't even know like half the people on here. Hey, I'm gonna get there. There's gonna be a point when I know everybody on here, hopefully. But Girl in Red, this was someone that I saw last December. She was the headliner of the show I went to, but really I was there to see Sunday 1994. They're an up-and-coming band that I'm really excited about, but Girl in Red was really the main attraction there, and she didn't let me down. She put on a hell of a show. A funny thing about her live is she has some kind of like thing about her where she gets easily distracted and kind of has like a fun back and forth with the crowd. And it seems like every show of hers that I've seen, you know, not only the one I saw, but then online, there's like always a unique moment. So probably going to be something really cool pulled out at such a big stage like Glastonbury. Royal Otis, pretty good. But what I feel like is kind of a gimmicky artist, Shabuzi. I don't know if that really fits into this type of show, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if I get that. Sprint's kind of a punchy, like punk rock type of band, female led. They were kind of someone that came out of nowhere for me at the beginning of last year. I have a friend that was super into this album. I also thought it was really good. St. Vincent, we've talked about before on this channel, where I had a different friend that said that St. Vincent was an industry plant. So I kind of debunked that and kind of was on the other side of that debate in an earlier video. So please check that out. But I'm a big St. Vincent fan. One of the most creative, artistic artists at the moment. You know, a great guitar player too. She doesn't really always like put that on display, but here on the big stage, she's going to be doing some shredding, I'm sure. Some of these last 4 acts I won't mention, but one I'm going to go back to is a really underrated hidden gem of a band called The Big Moon. It's an all-female band, all 4 of them. They just seem like, really down to earth people. They have a few albums out at this point, and they're all really solid, especially the middle one. I think it's called Walking Like We Do. So yeah, it's really cool to see them in this spot. I think they'll get some exposure, maybe get some more eyeballs and ears on their music, because they're really good. And then like right here, lots of other artists and stuff aren't on this list, and sometimes that's where I found a lot of interesting bands too, is like where they'll post some of the smaller stages, like the up and coming people, that maybe just have like an EP out or some singles or maybe one album. You can find some really good like indie artists that way, following along with that. So, but yeah, that's the gist of the Glastonbury lineup for 2025. This is like totally a bucket list thing for me. It's not going to happen this year, just not in the cards. But at some point, my ass is going to Glastonbury. Okay, like I have my passport and everything. It's just it's not easy to make your first trip overseas. I'd probably have to go alone. So maybe if I could find someone that would go with me, that would be make it a little more easier. But also there's like a scheduling conflict this year, which is ultimately keeping me away. But this would be a slate of music that I'd be really excited to see. I've seen earlier today that it seemed like people were saying this was like a weak lineup. I don't know if I can really say that. I feel like each day is really solid. There's a lot to see. People from every genre or every fan base of a certain type of music have something here for them. Whether you're into kind of like the legends, you have Neil Young and Rod Stewart, John Fogerty. If you're in the more modern, pop, you have 1975, Charlie XCX, Olivia Rodrigo, and then some great rock acts, Wolf Alice, Inhaler, Deftones. If you're into that, I mean, there's something for everybody. And Amyl and the Sniffers, of course, kind of more of like a punk sound. So really excited about that. If you're going to Glastonbury and this was kind of your way of finding out kind of who all's playing, that's really cool that I could be a part of that. I'm sure that's going to be a blast. So have fun with that if you're going to Glastonbury this coming year. But if you like this content, please like the video itself and subscribe here to Last Few Spins so you don't miss out on more stuff like this and more album reviews, music topics, and whatnot. So I think I'm going to hop off of here now. I'm actually kind of in the mood after seeing this to rewatch some of my favorite Glastonbury performances from 2024. So I'm going to check some of those out. And even though I have so many views on those videos already, I'm going to add some more because I'm just in the mood for that. So, but until then, I really appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, thanks for watching.